Also, something that a person might be experiencing is a different kind of attitude inside the house than outside the house, especially in a couple, right? So, for example, when outside the house, the couple is just dandy. You know, they're like tiptoeing through the tulips, eating peppermint candy. When they go inside the house, it's like Cold War, escalating into World War III. For the most ridiculous reasons. Can't even begin to understand why. Girl, didn't I tell you? I don't like my toast so brown. Well, didn't I tell you? I don't care. Outside the house, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what it is. I love you so much. Right? That could be legitimately so, because of the effect of magic. Another one is an inability. There are interpersonal problems. So, for example, an inability for husband and wife to do what husband and wife do, or even frequent miscarriages. Sudden, in an individual, sudden behavior changes. So, I remember hearing a story about one of the shuyukh in Senegal. Another story about the Senegalese, that one of them, he's a, mashallah, like a very sober, very gifted and, tabarakallah, spiritual individual. But he, at one moment, he was seen walking around like not knowing where he was. And he ended up walking into one of the neighbors' homes by accident. And they realized that again, in the East, people are more knowledgeable about these kinds of things, and it happens more. This was a legitimate example of someone affecting him with magic. He literally lost his sense of direction and purpose and all that, and he had to have someone to remove that from him, and they have those. They have people who do it, and they have people who remove it. It's real. Another one is a complete loss of appetite for food. Just don't want to eat. Or thinking or imagining one has done something when in reality one has not. So, for example, when the Prophet, ﷺ, as we'll read later, when he was affected by magic from a Jewish man, the Prophet, ﷺ, he had a state where according to the Asbab al-Nuzul of Wahidi, that the Prophet ﷺ was afflicted where he actually started to suffer from hair loss, and he thought that he had been visiting his wives, and none of that had happened. So, and the Prophet ﷺ is not immune to these kinds of things. He's a prophet, but he's a human, ﷺ, the best of humans. Let it be known. He's a human, but he's not like humans. So let that be known. So, or another one would be sudden obedience and or love for a particular person out of nowhere. Again, some of this stuff can be related to just psychological problems that have arisen, but it's not always the case. Or something, which is a psychological problem too. Now, also God creates solutions. So with regard to these things, Allah Azza wa Jal also, He gives a solution. So for example, as for curing this condition of magic, there's a couple of things. First thing is that one has to put their trust in Allah sincerely, and believe that the cure for every problem is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran has known supplications and seeking refuge. The most important and effective of these are the two that we're going to read today, over the 10. This is Surah al Falaq and Surah al Naas, and also Surah al Ikhlas is recommended to be read with them, as well as al Fatiha. Fatiha should be read all the time. When you make your du'as, for example, it's customary to end your du'a with Fatiha, asking Allah to give you an opening. Also, Ayatul Kursi. I'll give you a very specific example of some cures that you find. So, for example, this is very specific, but it's known amongst the people of the science, is to use 7 lotus tree leaves Whoa. The leaves should be crushed, then mixed them together with water, enough for taking a bath. In the following verses from the Quran are then recited. Al-Kursi, Kafirun, Ikhlas, Falaq, Naas. The verses which mention magic, like and very specific, like Al-Baqarah, Al-A'raf, and Yunus and Taha. Then the person who's affected by it drinks some of the water, and the rest is used to give him or her a bath. So you have very specific things. Another one is eating certain kinds of dates that come from Medina al-Munawwara. Certain kinds of dates that come, eating 7 of them, first thing in the morning. Another one is cupping. You guys know what cupping is? It's I've never seen it, but it's basically you take a glass kind of bowl structure. You put it on the skin, and then you light the top of it with fire, and it actually, the pressure pulls bad blood out of a person. And actually, and people have said crazy stuff about that. Like it's real. Like cupping is real. Like it's real talk. It's not just like, like people come out with like their blood will be black. Huh?
Karate Kid, the last one.
Oh yeah, it was in Karate Kid. Yeah. Right. So it must be true. Yeah, but that was cupping. Jazakallah khair. I mean, that's a good pop reference to this ancient science of cupping. It's an Islamic science. I mean, in other words, it was around before Islam, but it's something that Islam approves of and accepts. So cupping is good to do anyway. It's a certain, Eastern medicine looks at the body in different ways. It looks at the body as basically being a kind of combination of different elements. It has wetness, it has dryness, it has, it has bile, it has, all these things need to be balanced. And the cupping is a way of kind of taking out the imbalances through the blood. And then obviously supplications, inshallah. And at the end of the class today, I'll read you a certain supplication that I think is beautiful. Alhamdulillah. So with that, inshallah, we'll start the tafsir itself. Anyone have any questions? Alright, bismillah. Again, this is the tafsir, fi riyad al-tafsir lil-Qur'an al-Kareem, in the garden of Quranic exegesis, in the noble Qur'an. If you're trying to find this tafsir in English, unfortunately it's not available yet. It's actually a tafsir that's not even available in really anywhere yet. It's been produced in a limited production, and as soon as it was made, it was distributed all over Senegal and other places. The reason why is because the Mufassir, Sheikh Ibrahim Niass, the Senegalese Sheikh al-Islam, he produced this series of classes in his lifetime, and the classes were then they were transcribed into a book, translated from Wolof into Arabic, and then transcribed into a 6-volume series. And it would be a great undertaking to translate it all into English for sure, but it's not happening yet. Inshallah, it'll happen. Alright, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Surah al Falaq. Makkiyatun khams ayat. This is a Meccan surah, again, and it is comprised of 5 verses. Shaykh says, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. God is greater than all things. There is no God but God. God is greater, and for God is the praise. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. He mentions these 2 surahs together, and he says, in the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful, I seek I seek refuge in the Lord of the dawn, and I seek refuge in the Lord of people, humanity. He says, سبب نزولهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سحر سحره لبيد بن عاصم يهودي كان في المدينة أخذ شيء من شعرات رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وصور صورة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كاملة فأخذ عقدا 11 عقدة فجعل في كل عقدة إبرة نصب إبرة على صورة المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وفعل شيء من السحر ينفث فيها حتى مرض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مرضا شديدا فدخل عليه جبريل ومعه ملك آخر فقال الملك ما بال الرجل قال الآخر هو مطبوب أي مسحور. قال من سحره قال لبيد بن الأعسم. قال وأين السحر. So we'll stop with that and then we'll go backwards. So he says that he reads in the name of Allah. I'm sorry, we read that. So the means by which these two chapters were revealed is that the Prophet ﷺ, the Messenger of God ﷺ, was affected by magic. Saharahu Lubayd ibn al-A'sam. And the one who affected him by that was named as Lubayd ibn al-A'sam. And he was a Jewish man. And he was from Medina al-Munawwara, the city of the Prophet ﷺ. And what he did, he said, he took some hairs of the Prophet ﷺ. And it comes in other narrations, he also took some combs of some teeth of a comb also. وَصَوَّرَ صُورَةَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ كَامِلًا. And then he made like the image of the Prophet ﷺ entirely. In other words, like a little body. It's like a voodoo doll. فَأَقْدًا إِحْدَى عَشَرَ عُقْدَةً فَجَعَلَ فِي كُلِّ عُقْدَةٍ إِبْرَةً. And then he made 11 different knots. And then he put in each knot a needle. Right? Like now it sounds like New Orleans. Right? And then he had a bowl of gumbo. Right? No, but really, this is real. It's real. And then he entered these needles into the image of the Prophet ﷺ, and then he did something where he breathed into it so he blew into it. In other words, when he did that, until the Prophet ﷺ himself was affected and had a very serious illness. Al-Wahidi, he said that illness lasted 6 months, and that Rasulullah ﷺ, from the effects of that, his hair began to come out, and he would have spells of not being aware. فَدَخَلَ عَلَيْهِ جِبْرِيلٌ وَمَعَهُ مَلِكٌ آخَرٌ. So Gabriel came to him, and with another angel, and he said, what happened to the man? مَا بَعْلَ الرَّجُلُ. What's up with him? قال الآخر, the other angel said, he's affected by magic. قال من سحره. He said, who afflicted him with magic? قال لبيب ibn al-A'sam. Lubayb, this ibn al-A'sam, a Jewish man in Medina. قال وَأَيْنَ السِّحْرُ. And he said, where is the magic? In other words, the magic itself, the angels knew about this kind of stuff, right? Because they taught the people in Babylon. They're like, oh, okay, well, where is the magic now? In other words, where is the thing that affected him? قَالَ فِي بِئْرٍ ذِي أَرْوَانٍ. It's in a well called the Arwan. وَالنَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم يسمع فأرسل عليا إلى البئر. So the Prophet ﷺ, he heard what was going on, because he saw angels and he heard them speaking. So in other words, the Prophet ﷺ is like living in both realms. Peace be upon him. Another thing about him is that he had eyes, he could see behind him. So for example, in the sufuf, he would be able to see if the rows were straight or not. By simply standing, he could see behind himself, peace be upon him. Comes in narrations. He also was in both realms, peace be upon him. He was able to see the angelic realm and the realm of senses simultaneously. I mean, I think I'll believe that guy, you know what I mean? Instead of someone who just has good ideas. Well, if we do this and we do that, maybe this will happen. No, I'd rather deal with the one that's already been to paradise and seen the whole thing, receiving revelation and verifiably, superior than anything we know. أيوة. So فدخل بئر فوجد السحر أثر في ماء البئر حتى أن ماء البئر صار كالدم. And he said that what happened is Sayyidina Ali, he goes into the well